December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor. A very surprise attack. There were 30,000 male military pilots in service at that time. 1 year later, there were 100,000, and there was still a shortage. There were 25,000 who applied for the WASP. 2,080 some odd were accepted. 1,074 successfully completed the training. It was an experimental program. We were paid by civil service. We had to pay our own way down to Sweetwater. We had to pay room and board. We had to pay our own uniforms. The training took 7 months, and it was the same training that the cadets had. We started in a Stearman, which is an open cockpit aircraft, doesn't have radios or anything. And that was a 220 horsepower aircraft, and went directly into the AT-6, which is an advanced trainer. That was 650 horsepower. It had retractable gear, it had flaps, it had controllable pitch prop, it had radios. We were treated military. You were either sent to the ferry command, which I wanted, but by this time they had enough ferry pilots, or the training command. The training command, you did every job in the United States that was done statewide. You had to fly an airplane to give the gunners practice shooting. You had to fly an airplane with a target behind it for the anti-aircraft to practice shooting. You had to fly a plane at night for the searchlight missions. You had to fly, I did engineering test flying in Pecos, Texas. They also needed pilots to take non-flying personnel around the country wherever they had to go on any mission. And we were stationed at 120 different bases all over the United States. When one of us died, there was no allowance for the body to be sent back to home. And the families were not allowed to show the star in the window saying that someone in service had died. They were not allowed a military funeral. They were not even allowed a flag over the coffin. We worked to try to make the women, current women pilots who wanted to fly combat so that they could advance themselves in the Air Force. And they finally have been granted that. And I am very happy to see so many women active in all of the military branches and being accepted and being looked at for their capability rather than their sex.
At the Women in Aviation Conference in Orlando this year, a number of the ladies that were there for AirTran started talking to some of the WASPs about the Congressional Gold Medal ceremony coming up. Unfortunately, there were transportation issues. Some of the ladies said, don't know how they're going to get there. Well, a couple of phone calls and a couple of creative ideas, and the next thing you know, from the time in the afternoon when these conversations took place till probably that evening at the banquet by 9 o'clock, 5 or 6 hours, we had already committed to creating an opportunity for travel for the WASPs, for companions to go with them, and for us to sponsor the event in Washington, D.C.
They and the WASP, the rest of our WASP, have made it possible for the rest of us women to follow in their tracks in order to become military aviation pilots. She actually trailblazed for me, in my mind, as one of the first female combat pilots in my squadron at VP 45, and which I used to fly the P3 Orion. So for me, I am so honored. I'm very humbled to fly with her today, and it's just a great honor for me to be involved in this.
Thank you. Nice flight, very good landing.
When we were on the flight to Washington, D.C. with Bee, we got word that the fire department at the airport in D.C. was going to give her a water cannon salute. So it was really neat when we were taxiing in. We paused the plane, we had fire trucks on both sides, sprayed on the airplane. And when she got off the airplane in Washington, D.C., there was a whole entourage of people there to applaud her for her service to our country, waving flags and saluting her.